How's it going everyone? It is Panjano here, and in today's video we're going to be covering the ultimate GeForce Experience optimization guide. This video is going to be showing you guys all of the best settings in which you need to be using for GeForce Experience, regardless of how good or bad your system is. All the way from game optimizations, covering the in-game performance overlay, which settings you should and shouldn't use for a performance impact, and a reduction in system latency, and covering all of the correct settings which you should be using for Nvidia SHADOWPLay, whether you're looking to record short gameplay clips at a small file size, all the way up to fully fledged recordings at 4K at the best quality possible, alongside providing you guys with a few fixes. As always guys, if you guys do enjoy this video, please do remember to leave a like, as it does help me out tremendously. And if you happen to have any other tweaks, tips, please do let me know in that comment section down below. We're first of all going to start off with downloading and installing GeForce Experience to your PC. If you already have GeForce Experience downloaded, it's worthwhile applying this step just to ensure that you are running on the latest version of the program to ensure that you are getting the best results. Simply navigate inside of the description down below where you'll be able to find the GeForce Experience download link. If you bought the latest version of GeForce Experience available, go to the green download button, go to the bottom left hand side and then select open. Now assuming that you are running on a compatible Nvidia graphics card for the GeForce Experience, you should then be brought into the Nvidia installer. Go to the bottom right hand side, select agree and continue. The program will then begin to install to your PC. Once the program is finished installing to your PC, it should open up automatically. You'll then need to put in your Nvidia account details. If you don't already have an account, you can create one by going to the bottom right hand side, clicking on this hyperlink and simply creating an account. But for me, I'm simply going to be logging into my pre-existing Nvidia account. Now before going ahead and setting up anything with inside of the software, we're first of all going to be applying a quick audio fix if you are planning on using the SHADOWPLay feature or instant replay, or are just looking to record your games. Navigate to the bottom right hand side, right click on your speakers, then select sounds. With inside of the sound tab, navigate over to your playback devices in the top left hand side. Continue to scroll down until you find the device which you use to play your games. You may have multiple devices in here like I do. It will typically be the one which has the tick next to it selected by default device. Simply right click on the device, navigate down to properties. You can then navigate up to the Advanced tab found up here in the top. We're then going to ensure that Exclusive Mode both allow applications to take exclusive control of this device and give Exclusive Mode applications priority are both unchecked. We also want to go to the Default Format drop-down menu and ensure that you have set this to DVD quality at a minimum. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be using 16-bit 48,000Hz DVD quality. Navigate to the bottom right-hand side, select Apply, then select Yes. We can then navigate over to the left-hand side to OK, and we're going to repeat that optimization by going to our recording devices this time. Once again, finding your default microphone in which you're wishing to use to both record videos and talk to people with. Once you find your microphone, right click, Properties, Advanced, ensure that Allow applications to take exclusive control and give exclusive mode priority are both unchecked. Once again, we're going to be going ahead and setting this to DVD quality at a minimum. Selecting Apply once again. This will ask you to restart the device. Once you've done that, you'll more than likely have to restart your PC before your microphone will work again. So if you do go to use Discord or record a video instantly after watching this video, it is recommended to do a quick system restart just to ensure that all of the settings have been applied. Jumping back into the GeForce Experience program itself, we're first of all going to ensure that we have the experimental or beta features enabled so we have full access to all features available. For this, navigate to the top right hand side to the settings cog. With inside of here, underneath the about section, you'll find a tickable box labeled Enable Experimental Features. It's recommended to go ahead and select this. Once the update has finished, go ahead and select Restart Now. We're first of all going to be going ahead and ensuring that our GPU drivers are completely up to date. Now the easiest way to update your GPU drivers is through the GeForce Experience. You can do this by navigating to the top left hand side, clicking on the Drivers tab, navigating to the right hand side to check for updates. This will then scan nvidia.com to see if there are any driver updates available for the graphics card you have installed. If there is an update available for your GPU, navigate to the top right hand side, select the download option. This will then begin to download and install the latest graphics card driver for your system automatically. We're first of all going to be starting off with the settings page. For this, navigate to the top right hand side once again, click on the settings cog. Starting off with the general tab on the left hand side, we're going to ensure that Nvidia in-game overlay is turned to the on position, as this will allow you to quickly and easily change settings, take screenshots and other features whilst inside of games. Navigating down to desktop notifications, I like to uncheck reward is available, and I like to keep on GeForce driver update is available. Lastly, navigating down to the download section, and it's highly recommended to actually have automatically download driver updates turned off. Once we're done with inside of there, we can then navigate over to the games and apps section. This is where you'll be able to scan your PC for all games and apps which are compatible with the GeForce Experience. The optimal settings are not the best in-game settings for the best FPS possible, but if you are quite lazy and you're not entirely sure what you're doing when it comes to in-game settings, it is a fast, easy and useful option to have if you are looking to get some quick and easy game settings. This should automatically scan your PC, but if it hasn't or you have downloaded quite a few games recently, it's always recommended to hit scan now, and you'll notice that the game section on the home page should then become updated with all compatible games which have been detected. The Shield section is used for streaming to other Shield devices which you may have in the home, such as the Shield TV. This is quite a niche setting, so we're not going to be covering that in this video, as 99% of people won't be using this. This time navigating down to in-game overlay, then clicking on settings. Alternatively, to get into the in-game overlay settings at any time in your PC, whether you're in a game or not, you want to press the Alt key and Z on your keyboard. You'll have access to take an instant screenshot, activate photo mode, and use game filters, which we'll be covering later on in this video. For now, what we're going to be doing is navigating over to the far right hand side to the settings cog, starting off with the connect option. The connect option is a quick and easy way to sign into any social media or media sharing accounts, so you can instantly upload your gameplay to those accounts if you wish to do so. Navigating down to HUD layout. The options in which we're going to be enabling inside of the HUD layout will heavily depend on how you're wishing to use GeForce Experience. Starting off with camera. This is going to be used for a webcam, so if you are looking to do some sort of live streaming through the GeForce Experience app, which I would not recommend, if you're going to do any sort of live streaming, I would heavily recommend using the OBS Studio app, as that will give you much better results. But if you are looking to enable the webcam within inside of your game stream, you can do so simply and easily by selecting the position where you want the camera to appear, and you can then select the size of the camera in here just like so, and if you want to turn it off, go ahead and select off. Status indicator is something that I would recommend having on, as this will give you a clear indication as to when you are recording your video. Again, this can be positioned anywhere on the screen, so position it how you want it. Then navigating down to the performance section. This is only going to be enabled if you did enable the experimental features earlier on in the video. I personally like to have my performance stats on the top right hand side, and this can be turned on and off very quickly and easily by clicking a simple hotkey at any time. So if you don't wish to have the overlay running constantly whilst you're playing a game or on the desktop, it's very simple and easy to turn on and off. Once you have selected the position of the overlay, we can then select how many stats are displayed in the overlay. You can select just to have the FPS figures, basic figures, which will show you your FPS, 99% FPS, render latency, CPU utilization, and GPU utilization, or we can go with advanced, which is going to show you every single metric in which you could possibly want, or you can focus just on latency. We can then navigate down to viewers. This is going to be for those of you that are live streaming if you wish to see your view count on screen whilst playing a game. Again, select the position. Same goes for the comment section. This is a live streaming only feature. Once we're done with inside of there, we can then select back, then navigating down to keyboard shortcuts. For the most part, I'd actually recommend keeping these completely basic, as they are already extremely conveniently set up. But if for any reason you do wish to change any key bindings with inside of here, feel free to set up those now. If you want to change any key bindings, all you'll simply need to go ahead and do is simply select the key binding you wish to alter, then select the key or press both keys in which you wish to set for your key binding. So for me, if I wanted to have this set to O and P, I would just simply press O, then P. Once the key bindings have then been set, we can then go ahead and press back. This now brings us down to the recordings tab. With inside of the recordings tab, you're going to have two sections with inside of here, where you want your recording temporary files to be saved to and where you want your video saved to. Your temporary files directory is going to be where your current recording is being saved to as it's being recorded. Once I've finished recording the video and I've hit the stop record button, that MP4 file which is currently being generated will be completed and will then be shipped off to my video section. So for the best results possible, you want to ensure that your temporary files directory is set to one of, if not the fastest drive on your system. To change the location of your temporary files directory, navigate to the right hand side, click on the three dots. We can then repeatedly press the back button until we're met with all of the disk drives on our PC. We can then go ahead and select the drive in which we wish to save our temporary files to. So for me, that's going to be my E drive. You can then select any folders and subfolders with inside of that if you wish to do so. So for me, I'm going to be saving this to my recordings folder, selecting the folder, selecting done. Just make sure that the drive does have enough free space for the recordings in which you wish to do. This now brings us down to the broadcast live feature. Once again, I'm not going to be covering this, as I would recommend using the OBS Studio, as you'll find that you have much better results. If you aren't using the broadcast feature, ensure that this is turned to the off position. Navigating into highlights. Again, this is a feature I would advise not using, as this will automatically do tons and tons of recordings depending on how often you play games which support the highlights feature. There is a much better feature already built into this program, which comes in the form of the instant replay function, where you can simply press a button and have your own highlights as and when you want them. So I'd recommend switching this to the off position for the best results possible. This time navigating down to photo mode / game filter. This is one of the few options with inside of this program which can harm performance with inside of games, depending on how many game filters you wish to use. So if you do want the best FPS possible and you don't already use game filters, I would recommend switching this to the off position. But if you do find that you are using game filters or you're not particularly bothered about a small performance hit, leave this on. It's really personal preference. This time navigating down to audio. We first of all want to ensure that our system sounds are set to 100%. We're then going to set our microphone to 100%, and depending on how quiet or how loud your microphone is, may depend if you want to add some additional boost to that microphone, but this will be completely dependent on your system hardware and your Windows settings. So for now, I'd recommend keeping boost at 0, but if you do find that your microphone is extremely quiet, do experiment around with upping the boost, but do bear in mind, the higher the boost, the lower quality your microphone will sound. The most important feature with inside of lastly we want to ensure that everyone has checked is the separate both audio track section. This will make editing any footage you have, if you wish to edit it, a ton easier, where you'll be able to separate both the audio tracks. Let's say if you're talking over a specific moment where you only want the game sound, or your game sound is too loud and you can't hear your microphone, you can simply edit out those audio tracks whilst keeping one audio track running in the background. Sniper. Oh, res me. Go prone and res. Moving on to the video capture tab. This is where all of the important settings are held for any SHADOWPLAY features and instant replay features for this entire program. Once inside of it, you'll then be met with the instant replay length. This is going to be set differently depending on whether or not you're going to be using this option and what games you play. The instant replay length is exactly what it says on the tin. Whenever you press Alt and F10 on your keyboard to save an instant replay, this indicates the amount of time that instant replay would have recorded for. For me, I personally like to have my instant replay length set to 3 minutes, as this cuts down on any of the excess file size and unnecessary video capturing that doesn't need to be done. If you do want to set instant replay lengths higher, such as 10 minutes, 15 minutes or 20, go ahead, this is just my personal recommendation. For the quality tab, we're going to go to the right hand side and set this to custom for everyone. For example, if we're going to be using 130 megabits per second on our recording, 3-minute instant replay is going to be 2.9 gigabytes. But if we're using 70 megabits per second, it's only going to be 1.6. And this is why we're going to be setting up the video capture tab for 2 different use case scenarios. On the left hand side, you'll find all of the settings in which it's recommended to have selected if you are only using the video capture features to capture instant replays, whether that be for short YouTube clips or just to keep clips on your PC just to look back on in the future, where the quality doesn't need to be 4K and at the best level possible, where we can focus more on keeping a lot of recordings on your PC without taking up a ton of storage space. On the right hand side of the screen, you're then going to see the best recording settings. This is for those of you that are planning on doing content creation and you want the best visual quality possible. Whether you're making YouTube videos or wanting high quality footage, using those settings found on the right hand side of the screen will ensure that you are getting the best quality possible, both for your instant replays and your full length recordings. For me, I'm setting up my video capture tab to be tailored towards the best quality possible, so that's why I'm going with these settings. Proceed to scroll down, we can then navigate over to the notifications tab. Now, depending on your personal preference and use case, some people don't like to have the notifications turned on, so if you don't want to see a start recording or end recording notification which will pop up in your recording, it's recommended right now to turn notifications off. But if you would like a visual indication, like myself, as to when you've started a recording or finished a recording, keep the notifications turned on. Navigating down to privacy control. This is an incredibly useful feature, but does have an extremely big bug in it depending on how many monitors you have in your system, as you'll now be able to record your desktop and instant replay clips from your desktop, applications you're using, and also your games. But I would only recommend having desktop capture turned to the on position if you only have one monitor hooked up to your PC. If you have 2 or more monitors hooked up to your PC, more often than not, desktop capture will actually end up recording the desktop of a second monitor when you're playing a game on your main monitor and completely miss footage you may have. This is incredibly infuriating, and the only way currently to get around this is to simply turn off the feature if you have more than one monitor installed to your PC. Last but not least, you'll then be met with the performance monitoring tab. This just holds a few basic options towards performance monitoring with inside of games, where you can set up a log file if you wish to look back on your performance whilst going over a play session, and how often the performance overlay is updated. The higher this number is set to, the quicker the performance overlay will be updated, but you could experience some performance issues. So for most people, I recommend just hitting back. Once you've been brought back to the main page, it's now time to turn on instant replay, so it's constantly recording in the background. For this, navigate over to the instant replay button, click it once, then navigate down to turn on. The instant replay should then indicate that it's been switched to the on position, and from now on, anytime you press Alt and F10, the last 3 minutes will be recorded and saved to the directory in which we set up earlier. For those of you looking to get the best performance possible, or if you do run into any micro-stuttering issues on any games in the future, instant replay can sometimes cause some performance issues, so if you are experiencing any issues, just go ahead and press Alt and Z on your keyboard, go inside of the Geforce Experience, turn this to the off position. If you did set up the Nvidia performance overlay, you'll more than likely notice that this is open on your desktop and any games in which you play in the future. To toggle the overlay on and off very quickly, it's very simple and easy to do. The default keybind for this will be Alt and R. Press Alt and R on your keyboard, it will disappear. Press Alt and R again, the overlay will then reappear. For this next feature, we're going to be covering the Nvidia filters. For this, you need to boot into a game, press Alt and Z on your keyboard to bring up the Geforce Experience overlay, navigate over to the left-hand side to Game Filter, and you'll then see that you have 3 styles available. These are going to be 3 individual style profiles, so we're going to start off with style 1. Click on Add Filter, and this is where you can then add any of the following filters. You can add multiple filters within inside of a style, so you can really blend the game to make it your own. For instance, here we can add a Sharpen filter, go to the drop-down menu of this filter, and you can adjust how intense the Sharpen filter is. is. You can also go ahead and select black and white or brightness contrast, or even add some extra color to the game by going down to the color profile. We can remove the tint color and tint intensity, navigate down to vibrance, and you can adjust how vibrant all the colors are in your game instantly. Once you're happy with the filters, just go ahead and press Alt and Z on the keyboard again, and you'll then be able to play with your brand new filters. If you want to further customize the filters or remove any filters, select the filter you want to remove, then go down to the bin icon. That will then remove that filter. Or to turn the feature off entirely for the game, navigate up to off. This can slightly reduce performance and increase input latency, so do not go overboard with this option, and I would only recommend using it if you really need those additional benefits of the colors rather than the performance. For me, the three main filters in which I use are going to be the color filter, where I like to adjust my vibrance to the level I want for the game, the brightness and contrast filter, where you can adjust the shadows to not make them as dark so people can't hide in them, and also the sharpen plus filter, which is a very nice, quick and clean sharpen filter for the game. For photo mode and screenshots, these are self-explanatory. Once we've set up all of the main settings for Geforce Experience, we can then navigate up to the top right hand side, this time clicking on the Performance tab. Now, the amount of options which are available to you may be limited depending on which graphics card you have installed to your system, as not all GPUs support all features shown on screen. This is where you'll have access to the automatic overclocking utility built with inside of the Geforce Experience. Now, this isn't by any means going to give you the best and most efficient overclock for your GPU, but if you are looking to get some extra performance out of it or experiment around simply and easily with a simple one-click overclock solution, if your games still play well or if you run into any crashes in your game, you can go ahead and simply turn this off. To apply and test a simple automatic overclock, if this option is available to you, navigate down to the Enable Automatic Tuning utility and turn this on. As the disclaimer states, this is completely at your own risk. You may run into instability with inside of games or run into artifacting issues whilst playing games. I'm going to be going ahead and selecting Agree and Continue. This is going to simply stress test the GPU, apply different overclocks to it and see how it reacts, and how your temperature is affected. At the end of this, you'll then be given an automatic overclock which you can choose to use or simply turn off. The main option with inside of here, which I'd recommend for every single person to look into, is to navigate to the bottom left hand side and set a manual fan speed target. Setting your fan speed manually is always going to be best to keep those temperatures low and your GPU clocks high, resulting in better performance for longer. I would recommend going with a complete 100% fan speed target if you can whilst playing games. Now, for some people, they really don't like how loud the graphics card can get. Maybe 80% is for you, maybe that's too loud, go down to 70%. The main rule of thumb is you want this number as high as possible for your personal preference. So for me, I'm going to be applying 100%. Once you've set that, select apply. You should then begin to hear your graphics card fans spinning up. For some of you, this may be the first time in which you've heard your graphics card perform this loud. This is completely fine and within spec, and is recommended whilst playing games, as the cooler the GPU, the better performance you're going to be getting for longer. Now, once you're done with inside of all of the advanced settings with inside of the Geforce Experience, we can then go back to the home option, which is going to be for all of the game optimizations and settings, and which can be automatically applied for those of you out there that don't really know where to start in terms of optimizing your game settings or which game settings to turn off. If you are serious about getting the best performance possible from most major games, I would recommend checking out other videos on this channel where we go way more in depth in terms of config optimizations, tweaks, and other in-depth optimizations which you can apply on a per game basis to really get the best performance possible. For this demonstration, I'm going to use Apex Legends. Once you hovered over the game, navigate down to Details. What we're then going to go ahead and do is navigate to the middle of the screen, go to the right hand side, click on Custom Settings. This is where you'll then be able to find your resolution. I'd recommend keeping this at your recommended resolution, your display mode, where I'd always recommend keeping this to full screen, and you'll then find this extremely easy to use slider where you can optimize towards performance or visual quality. You should then have a few different increments which you can set to, whether you want to go between quality and performance or solely towards performance. For me personally, I would have this set all the way down to performance in every single game I play, as I want to get the best FPS possible and the lowest level of input latency. But for those of you out there that are looking for simple and easy settings, or you're looking for a fine balance, I'd recommend going with either the second from lowest or third from lowest option, or maybe even just setting it halfway. If you're not happy with how your in-game settings are, close out of the game, boot back with inside of the Geforce Experience, and either adjust this to higher or lower. Once you've set the slider to the desired position, navigate to the bottom right hand side, select apply. You should then see that the in-game settings have then been adjusted. What we can then go ahead and do is navigate to the top right hand side, then select launch. This will then boot your game with the applied settings which we've just set for the Geforce Experience. The games do have to be supported by Geforce Experience to have the automatic settings profiles available to them, and you'll be able to see all of the games which are supported. You'll notice in the top left hand side that there is a green tick next to it. This is where you will then be able to go down to the details page and adjust the game settings by going to custom settings and adjusting them just as we set them before. We can now move on to a quick demonstration of how to actually record inside of the game, how to see if you're recorded, and where to find the files on your PC. To start recording, it's very simple and easy to do. The default keybind for this should be Alt and F9. Once you press both of them at the same time, you'll then see that recording has started and the indicator in the bottom right hand side is lit up in green. From this moment, this is then going to continue to record up until the point where I manually go and press Alt and F9 once again to stop the recording. This could be 1 minute, 2 minutes, or even up to a few hours. Once you're done recording, go ahead and press Alt and F9 on your keyboard once again. You'll then see that the recording has been saved. Once that video has been saved, you'll then be able to find the video in the directory in which you set up earlier, which we'll be going over. For those of you that have instant replay set up and you want to make a quick replay of any moments that have just happened, you'll go ahead and press Alt and F10 on your keyboard. You'll then see the notification for saved last and then the amount of minutes you set your replay up for. This will also be saved in the directory where we have our recording set to, in which we set up earlier on in the video. And as before, if you did set up the Nvidia performance overlay, press Alt and R on your keyboard, we will then be able to see your performance metrics in the top right hand side of the screen live as you play. If you want to turn this off, once again, press Alt and R. Once your recordings have saved, we can then navigate over to the directory and where we had our recordings saved to. If you don't remember this, select Alt and Z on your keyboard, go to Settings, Recordings, you'll then see the directories listed within inside of here. And you'll then notice that you have a few game folders within inside of here, which will match the games in which you've recorded earlier on. So for me, I recorded Fortnite, and as you can see, I have both of my files within inside of here. We have the file in which I manually recorded myself, and also my instant replay. You can then simply open up these files, and they'll begin to play with no issues whatsoever. And here's our instant replay in which we saved, which is 3 minutes long. This now leads me on to the closing part of the video, where we're going to be covering one last program in which I would highly recommend installing if you are planning on doing a lot of recording through Nvidia SHADOWPLAY, whether it be instant replays or lengthy gameplay clips. The program in which I'm talking about is AVI Demux. Link can be found in the description down below. This program will simply allow you to open up most common video file formats. We will simply be able to go ahead and cut any excess footage from a video file without having to re-encode it. So let's say you have a 20-minute gameplay clip, but there's only 5 minutes of that gameplay clip in which you actually wish to keep. What you'll be able to do is simply open the video file in AVI Demux, select the segment of the video you wish to have cut, and AVI Demux will do that instantly without the need to re-encode. Go to the green download button on the left-hand side, navigate to the bottom left-hand side, open up the program. With inside of here, select Next, Next, and finally Finish. Once the program has been installed, navigate to the bottom left-hand side to your Windows button, type in AVI Demux, then open up the app. Once the program is open, navigate back over to your folder where you have your clip in which you wish to edit, and simply drag the clip into the program. Once your clip has been loaded into the program, what you then want to go ahead and do is either press the play button or manually skip to the part of the clip in which you wish to keep. So the start of the clip in which I wish to keep is going to start here. Let's say this is the beginning of the play you've made or the highlight that you have, or whatever it is you wish to keep recording. This is where I want the recording to now start. Once you've found this section, go ahead and press the A button. What you then want to go ahead and do is go to the end of the clip where the clip ends, wherever that may be for you. I'm going to end my clip here, then go down and select the B button. Once you've selected that, you'll then see this blue square has appeared, which is the only parts of the footage in which are going to be kept. So the footage will now start from this section and now end here. This will obviously change depending on how you wish your recording to be saved. Once you're done with inside of here, I recommend navigating to the output format on the left hand side, go to the drop down menu and select this to MP4 Muxer. With inside of here, go down to the configure button. If you want some light optimizations applied to this to make the file size slightly smaller, you can keep these settings, otherwise select no optimization. Then navigating up to the left hand side to the save button, select save video. We can then name the file. I'm going to be calling this cut clip, then select save. This should then instantly be saved regardless of how long the clip is. We can then go ahead and exit out of AVI Demuxer, go back inside of our folder where our clip is located, and you'll now see that you now have your cut clip. And you'll now notice that the clip is completely cut with only the section you actually wanted. As you can see, compared to our normal file, which is 229 megabytes, our cut clip is only 106, being under half of the file size of the original file. This is a quick and easy way to stay on top of your recordings and have a ton of recordings in folders without clogging up your PC with tons and tons of footage. Now that I'm happy with my cut clip, I can then go ahead and delete the original file, saving tons of space on my PC. There are a few last bugs in which you should look out for. If you do run into any issues with the frame rate of your videos or your videos excessively stuttering, this could be caused by 99 or 100% GPU usage with inside of the game in which you are playing. If the GPU is being completely stressed by the game in which you are playing, the GPU will be under so much stress that the integrated H.264 encoder for your GPU, which is used for your recordings, will be too stressed and will cause issues and artifacts with inside of the video you may be recording. Try lowering some of your in-game settings and also implementing a slight FPS cap to ensure that you don't go over 95% GPU usage. If you found this video helpful, please do remember to leave a like and check out the video on screen now for more enhancements and optimizations for your PC.